I, 26F, am an escort and I am falling in love with one of my clients, 39M. If you want to cast judgment on my career, please don't. If you want to tell me I'm being exploited, please don't. I'm not here for that. I started working with this customer approximately a year ago. I was instantly struck by how attractive he looked. As I got to know him more, he revealed himself to be a kind, lovely, charismatic, and extremely smart individual. He is always kind, so I never had to set any limits with him. Above the past year, I've grown to prefer seeing him over seeing any of my other clients. If there is a schedule issue, I will prioritize him. Recently, I have been more personal with him than with my other clients, cuddling, kissing, embraces, and other things I do not do with my other customers. I like spending the night with him. We have lengthy, in-depth discussions about everything, we have a lot of common interests, and we simply get along pretty well. I'm extremely comfortable with him. I'm madly in love with him. It's never occurred before to me. I've always tried to keep my emotions apart from my profession, but I can't help myself with him. I will spend time with him that I will not charge him for, I will spend additional time with him, and I will just enjoy being with him. I've been spending time with him on a casual basis, going on dates. I think, for want of a better phrase, I'm not charging for either, and the boundaries are becoming more blurred. I'm at a loss on what to do. I suppose I want to transition the relationship from professional to personal. In fact, it's already personal to me, but I can't imagine he'd be okay with my job if I were his girlfriend. I'm frightened of being rejected by him and losing our working connection. I'd give this up to be with him, but it would raise a whole other set of challenges for me in terms of finding a new job. I'm at a loss on what to do. Should I go for it? Should we take the risk of being rejected and destroying our professional relationship? If he says yes, do I give up my career? I don't believe I'd be able to continue if I were with him directly. Do I simply remain mute and let our relationship continue as it is? Or do I drop him entirely as a client? I'm not searching for a person to rescue me, yet I can't help but have feelings for him. Correction, I know why he's single. His wife was killed in an accident 3 years ago. Edit 2. I can't believe how many people have responded to this post. I'm going to go for it. I'll inform him this week. Now comes the hard part, figuring out how. Many people have asked whether I have a backup, and I do. Edit 3. I'm getting ready to depart for lunch with him. I'm not going to bring it up right now, but I do plan to ask him whether he ever sees himself marrying again. Thank you for all of your help. I was surprised by the outpouring of support. 4th revision lunch was delicious. We had a lot of fun. I did ask him whether he thought he'd ever be able to marry again. He claimed 3 years ago that the response would be a firm no, but today he's not so sure. Then he asked whether I ever saw myself marrying, and I gave a similar response. I told him I asked him if he wanted to come to dinner at my house tonight, not for business, but for personal reasons. He said that he is like that. I'm going to go for it. Final revision. I honestly did not anticipate this piece to get the response that it did. I didn't expect so many people to be interested in and involved in my tale. I had no idea how much help I would get. I was inundated with comments, private messages, and chat requests. Some of them were approximately what I had anticipated. Gold digger accusations and can't change A into a housewife type remarks were just what I imagined. What I didn't anticipate were the hundreds of supportive comments and texts. You were correct in that I knew exactly what I wanted. I knew what my heart was telling me to do, but hearing thousands of people encourage me to go for it gave me the push I needed to not waste any more time. Did you get your shot? Before I go into the update, I'd want to address a few points. Several people speculated that the narrative about his wife was fabricated and that he was secretly married. I was very confident he wasn't married since I performed out calls to his house and my married customers never took me to their house, they always took me to a hotel. But since I was at his house on a daily basis and saw images of her throughout the house, I knew she was genuine. How can I put my faith in a man who employs escorts? Given what I do, this is a stupid thing to evaluate him on. I can't imagine passing judgment on a guy for employing my services. I was his first, and unless he's a fantastic actor, I understand the uneasiness of a first date, and he was certainly uneasy when we first met. I never questioned him whether he began meeting other escorts because, honestly, it was none of my concern. I should wait for him to come up to me. Unfortunately, this is unlikely to work. As the borders blurred, I told him about a few customers who were too possessive, obsessive, and jealous, which I had to abandon. I'm sure he expected the same thing if he attempted to tell me he wanted a personal connection. This move has to be made by me. Do I want to do this indefinitely / do I truly want to give it up? Various versions on the topic of quitting the business. Some are in favor, while others are against. Bottom line, I don't believe I'll be doing this till I'm in my 30s. It used to be interesting and entertaining, but recently it hasn't been. It's exactly like work now, and the only meetings I look forward to are the ones with him. I also don't like the notion of being devoted to him while still meeting clients. I've heard from a number of other workers and customers who were able to make it work, but I simply can't. I simply can't do that, even if he is okay with it. Another thing to consider is a buddy of mine who has never been a fan of what I do. She has extended an open invitation to join her company's sales staff. Many folks advise that we go out as friends and do activities outside of our professional relationship. I'm guessing my responses to this one got lost in the torrent of comments, so I'll post them here. We've been for quite some time now. We get together for lunches and dinners, go to the movies, and have day excursions around town. Throughout the week, we also text. Now for the update. I believe I said yesterday that we had met for lunch. This had been somewhat routine for us recently, and we had a pleasant conversation. I asked him whether he ever saw himself falling in love and married again. He claimed he didn't believe it would be feasible after his wife died, but now he feels he may be able to with the right person. Then he asked whether I had ever considered quitting the business and getting married. And I somewhat responded the same way, with the correct person, followed by a pointed glare. He had to return to work at this time, so I asked him to supper at my house. This was a first for me. He has never visited my house. I only bring friends back there, not customers. I hope that conveyed a strong message to him. I returned home and began preparing. I needed to go shopping for some items and prepare the house for a visitor. I phoned a buddy who knows about this man and has been encouraging me to make a move and settle down into something more regular. I informed her about the Reddit article and that I was going to make the leap. I also informed her that I intended to accept her offer. I contacted and canceled my forthcoming appointments. I explained that something had come up and that I would be unable. I'm leaving. Whatever occurred with him, I'm done. If I can't get my head back in the game and I'm being too personal, plus I'm discovering I want to be in a relationship and I can't separate from my emotions as I thought, it's time to call it quits. This is no longer what I want. This decision was made for myself, not for him. Even if things didn't work out with him, I understood I wanted to be in a serious relationship with someone. One thing that people highlighted was the possibility that he may get violent if I informed him. I honestly didn't think he'd do it, but I asked a buddy to call and check on me just in case. She is aware of the exercise, we have set up safe and emergency phrases, and we have a plan in place if she receives no reaction from me at all. I finished my shopping, started supper, set the house up nice and romantically, and dolled myself up nice and in preparation for him to come over. He arrived at 7 p.m. He brought flowers and a bottle of wine for me. He was invited by me. He said that he wasn't sure whether he should bring money or not, but he did. I informed him it wasn't required since he wasn't a customer. I don't have clients come to my house. I was hoping he was getting the message. Dinner was going well, and we were having our regular banter, but I could sense he was a bit bewildered about what was going on. So I pulled on my big girl pants, collected my confidence, and shooted my shot, as you guys say. I informed him that I was no longer taking him on as a client. He was astonished and upset, and he wanted to know why. What went wrong with him? Something happened. I told him that it had nothing to do with him. I was quitting the business and had dropped all of my customers. I informed him about the job I'd taken, and he wished me success, saying I was lovely and personable, and that he was certain I'd do well in sales. He said that he will miss me. I exhaled a huge breath and said, "You're not required to miss me if you don't want to." I then spilt it. He was the only customer I took home with me to inform him in person. I said out what I said in the post. What I thought of him and why I didn't want to be his escort any longer. I really wanted to be his girlfriend. I explained that he had paid me to go and not stay, and that now I was requesting to stay, and that I would understand if he didn't want to continue. "Who told you that?" he asked. That he bribed me to come back and not go. He stated he felt the same way, but wasn't sure whether it was proper to ask me. He was still heartbroken over his wife, and he wasn't sure if he was ready, but he began some of the finest things in his life when he wasn't sure if he was ready. He questioned whether I was okay with dating someone who was still grieving from his divorce. I assured him I could deal with it and that I wasn't attempting to take her place. We exchanged kisses. I walked him into my bedroom and we kissed. We sat in one another's arms for a while after that, chatting about what was next. He offered to assist me with the transition, but I declined since I wanted to attempt to do it on my own and not depend on him. I appreciated his offer, and if I needed assistance, I would ask, but for now, I must attempt on my own. That was something he respected. I promised him that things would be different now. As his girlfriend, I'd have expectations of him that I'd never had as an escort. That was okay with him. I told him I had never asked or cared whether he saw other women before, but now that I wanted monogamy, I would provide it to him and expect it in return, so if he was seeing other escorts, that would have to stop, and I reminded him that I had dropped my clients. That wasn't an issue, he said. I was the only one there. He stayed with me last night and went this morning. Where will this take us next? I'm not sure. Maybe I'm making a major mistake, maybe it's destiny, maybe it's God acting in strange ways, maybe we're just two lost and lonely souls thrown about by life's turbulent seas who manage to locate and cling to each other. We'll see where this takes us next, whether by fate, fairy tale, or fluke, and we'll do it together. I'm happy, elated, and afraid all at the same time. In a single day, my whole life has altered dramatically. I didn't want to go this quickly, but once this train began moving, there appeared to be no stopping it. To everyone who thought I was a worthless who could never be loved, you too, and to everyone who voiced worry, thank you. Maybe this is a mistake, but I have to find out. Thank you to everyone who urged me to go for it. You were correct. Without the hundreds of comments encouraging me to go for it, I would have lingered in that limbo for much longer. As a last remark, I'd want to point out that this is not typical. If you encounter workers, don't assume that this is the norm and that the ladies you meet will fall in love with you. While I'm sure it occurs, and I've heard from people in comparable situations to mine, it's not the norm. If you're thinking about doing work because you believe you'll discover Prince Charming, keep in mind that this is a highly unlikely conclusion. Oh, and by the way, I detested Pretty Woman. I never imagined that would happen to me one day. If you have anything encouraging to say, please send me a private message. Save it if you simply want to annoy Bile.